So in this fifth video, we're going to continue on with the directions that the things that we have been doing. Let's see here, which one do I want to keep open? I don't really particularly want any of these open right now, I don't think. Yeah, I'll leave them all closed for now. I'm going to go to polygons, and I'm going to hold down space, come over here. I want to bring this shelf out. So again, this is just a quick way of accessing, create blah blah blah. It's a quick way of doing it here. There's our cylinder, bam, there's the cone, so on and so forth. These are also a lot of our tools. So in this one here, we're actually going to look at some basic modeling concepts that we are used to when it comes to Max. And I'm just going to free up some things on my screen, give me a little more space. So we have ourselves the box. Notice we don't have to convert it to an editable poly or anything. We can just jump right into the face. And go at F11, get into our polygon. Another thing that I'm going to actually show you is probably on yours you'll have these little blue squares in the middle of each face. That's actually under a preference. And let's see if I can find where that option is. Settings. Where is it? Save action modules, applications, polygons. Faces, centers, back face culling, edges, vertex size. So you see there's a lot of things we can have set up. Animation, kinematics, display. UI elements. No. I'm missing something. You say face centers. Save. No. I know it's in there somewhere. Turn that off. Show items. Settings. Animation. Here it is, under selection, polygon selection. Select faces with the center or the whole face. You probably have it set to center by default, and I just think whole face is better. So save that. That way we can pick anywhere on that particular face. Alright, so the standard thing that we're probably used to when it comes to Max, hold X and we say I can snap right to the center there, is doing the box modeling technique where we can model just one half of this particular object. So I'm going to show you kind of that setup. So I'm going to delete this face over here, and I'm going to go back to F8. We see that our pivot point is right here in the center of the world. Since we haven't adjusted move the object. We've only manipulated the sub-object or component level of this box. I'm going to go Edit, Duplicate Special, and if I uncheck this guy and say give me an instance, and notice my scale is set to -1 on the X, we can see that it's probably not going to go the right way, so I'm going to just hit Duplicate Special, and in fact it did not. So I can look and see that I want it to go on the Z axis if I want a copy on this side. So we will do Duplicate Special again, and so I will set this to 1, and we will set the Z to -1. We want it to be an instance, so hit Duplicate Special, and now when we go to F11, we see that we can do whatever we want. And if I hit 3, I can get an idea of what it's going to look like smoothed. Again, we will have to actually smooth this thing, but it should get the point across. So 1, 2, and 3. So some of our basic tools under Polygon. We have a lot of these tools here. Mirror geometry is something that you want to do at the end. When you're completely happy with the model, you can mirror it, because then you weld it. It'll weld it on its own. So that's something we do at the very end when we want to make this whole thing one object. Separate, combine, same thing as going into sub-object mode. For example, let's say I created a cylinder here, and I'm just going to click Shift, select this guy, and go Combine. So now this is one object. Now I can go Separate, and now they are two objects again. So I'm going to undo. Okay. So we're back to where we were. We have Reduce, Split Polygon, Extrude, Bridge, Chamfer Vertex, Cut Faces, Merge, and we come down here, we see we got a couple more tools: Extract, Sculpt Geometry. So there's some of the tools that we use a lot. The other ones are going to be found under Edit Mesh. Our Offset Edge Loops, Insert Edge Loops. Under Mesh we have under Select, we have our Grow, Shrink, Select Edge Loop, Select Edge Ring. Again, these are things that I like to have kind of set up as hotkeys. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quickly. Actually, I'll do that after this video. So if I go to F11, I'm going to pull this guy out. I'm not going to model anything particular. I'm just going to show you how to use the tools. What I actually think to be pretty cool, I'm going to actually close this guy down. I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, and I can actually tear off this window by clicking right here. I can now move this guy over, and it's kind of like my own little command panel for modeling. So for example, let's say I want to add some edge rings, so I hit F3, or I'm sorry, 3. We see that it smooths it, and well, let's say I want to see the edges around here, the square edges. I want to see that, hold that shape a little more. I will do Insert Edge Loop, and notice I can now just click anywhere and drag and kind of see a preview of what it would look like. And then when I release and F8 get out, I can see how that actually affected the object. So again, if I go into, and it doesn't matter what mode you're in, you can be in vertex mode and still be able to insert edge loops. So I'm actually going to try to make this square, a little more square. So I'm just going to add these edge loops right along the edges, and we see how that's adjusting and affecting the overall shape of our object. Maybe I want one here in the middle, right? And then I can just jump right into my scale tool and start doing stuff with it. Now, what if I wanted to split this guy and go from here but add more? Well, that's what our offset edge loop tool is useful for. I'm going to actually go back to 1. So you see I'm on this guy now, and if I just click and drag, I can see where the next 2 are going to go. So we see that I then added those, and I can go select loop, and I double click and hold shift and double click, and it'll select those guys, which I can now manipulate like so. Obviously if I scale it down like that, then so those are again some of the basics. I can see when I go back into 1 that this is very much jacked up. So we always want to kind of be aware of because you'll get, just like in Max, you'll get too familiar and too comfortable modeling with Turbo Smooth on, and you'll forget what your geometry actually looks like. And so you want to make sure you're always bouncing back to 1, between 1 and 3, because when you unwrap your character, this is typically, or your object for professional texturing, this is what will actually end up getting unwrapped. And if this geometry is jacked up like that, even though that's the shape you might think you want, you're going to have a hard time texturing this guy. So always be kind of aware of that. We have our extrude tool, so let's go polygon here. Extrude, notice keep faces together is checked on right now. So let's say if I'll just hold shift and select all these guys. I'll do this with my select tool, so I'll hit Q. So we see I've selected not just this face, but the guys that surround it. And if I go to extrude, we can go to the settings. We can kind of see what's set up in here. Notice we can taper and twist our extrude. How many divisions do we add? I'm just not going to change anything. I'm going to leave it the way it is. You can go edit, reset settings if just to make sure. I'm going to hit close, and I'll now go extrude. And we get this little gizmo that pops up. So if I drag out this way, we see that it's extruding by local normals, which what we're used to in Max. I can come this way. I can I'm using the move gizmos there. If I want to scale, then I can just click out here on the scale, one of these boxes, and we notice that the scale tool appears in here. I can scale. So of course that's not really what we want. This little guy out here, if I click, notice it centers it, and we're actually in world space now. Notice the axes are mirroring our axes down here, showing us everything's going the right way. So again, I can just pull this whole thing out that way. If I click on scale, I can scale it out directly there. So we see there's a difference between the world and the local. Big difference, as we can see. Let me just click on that guy and it'll pop in and out of the correct tool. and this outer ring will give us our rotate. And as soon as we actually click on a tool, we click back to the move tool, notice we lost the extrusion tool. But let's say I'm going to pick on this face here and I want to extrude again. I can just hit G and go back here, or I can hit G, and that is our repeat last command option. And so again, I can scale, do all kinds of wonderful things, and hit G again, scale out again, hit G again, and I'll switch into world and then switch into scale, and I can come right down and I'll hit G again and push this guy in like so, and I hit 3 just to kind of see what that shape's looking like. So like I said, I'm not modeling anything particular, just want to show you some of the basic tools. So F8 to get out of sub-object mode or component mode, and just kind of look at how things are working here on my surface. Okay, insert edge loop, that right there. Scale that down. Got my move on, and remember space. I'm gonna move this off screen here. Hit space and come over here to the corner and right click. I can bring my toolbox out, and I can double click and go to my, so you see I'm in object space, I'm in local, but notice my gizmo is not normal. Moved it all together. So notice, can't quite get this guy to follow the direction that it's going. Local, none of these things are making the gizmo adjust and follow the actual angle that these guys are sitting in. None of these things are doing anything to make it adjust, and in my opinion, it's little things like that that make Max a better modeler. In this case, we could, move it down on both axes. Problem is that this particular, when we use the little box here in the middle, you can have a tendency of actually moving it on all 3 axes sometimes, and you'll see things just really get jacked up. So be careful when it comes to using this little box. But so anyway, we have a lot more tools here. Obviously we can adjust. I can use the slide edge, and we see drag with middle mouse to slide. But those are some of the basic ones. Our merge for vertices. If I go into vertex mode and select on these 2 guys, I can merge, and now they're one and the same. I'm not gonna have no intentions of going through all the tools. I'll get more into those as we do like actual modeling projects, but that should give you a good overview of kind of where to start. Cut faces is our actual cut tool, and let's get into polygon mode. actually split polygon is the one I'm thinking of. So we see, and hit enter, and now we've added that edge. So I'll hit G to go back to it, and notice if I click here and then move, it'll snap to that vertex right there. So I can now click over here, move my view, come up here, and then again I come down here and then snap it right into place, and then hit enter, and we have now added that extra subdivision. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there for now. I think that's a pretty good, gives you a pretty good idea of how to model a little bit in in Maya. It should get you started, get you rolling with modeling things on your own. Really kind of get a sense of what Maya has to offer as far as modeling goes. So go ahead and have fun with it, and I'll see you in the next one where we will continue on with the basics of Maya.